Welcome to the 2006 PartyPoker.com World 10-Pin Masters. 16 of the world's best bowlers started out in search of this coveted title and the winner's check for $30,000. Now, just 2 bowlers remain to contest what should be a dramatic final, a transatlantic clash, England versus the USA. The atmosphere down there on the show lane is electric as the fans await the start of the big match. England's Paul Moor takes on PBA Pro Tour bowler Chris Barnes of the USA, and as the players go through their final warm-up before we call them to the stage and get the big match underway, it gives us a chance to look at how they made it to the Masters final.
Paul Moor overcame one of Asia's finest in round 1, defeating Lisa Del Rosario in comfortable fashion, and once again showing his style was particularly well suited to the demands of the Masters. Chris Barnes also had female opposition in the shape of Denmark's Britt Bronsted. It was the game of her young career to play one of the sport's legends, but despite her best efforts, the imperious Barnes went through. In the quarters, Moor won out against Dutchman and fellow left-hander Wim van der Veen. Once again, Moor was on his way. For Barnes, it was an all-North American clash versus Michael Schmidt, the Canadian World Cup champion. Barnes battled, and the pro won through. And so to the semis, Moor found himself in a rematch of last year's final against Germany's Jens Nicol. Revenge never tasted so sweet, as Moor earned himself back-to-back finals at the Masters. Which left Chris Barnes to face Alex Liu. Another great battle and another chance for Barnes to show his fighting qualities. The American was through to the final in his debut Masters.
Welcome to the 2006 PartyPoker.com World 10-Pin Masters. It's time for the final. There are 2 players left standing, and both of them have a shot at that $30,000 winner's check and the coveted Masters title. Time then to introduce you to the players. Now, this first player is appearing in his 2nd consecutive Masters final, and he's hoping to go one better than the last time out when he got the runners-up spot. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome, from England, Paul Moor! It's deja vu, Paul. Congratulations on getting back and to your 2nd consecutive final. They'll be calling you Torry Torgerson at this rate.
Maybe, yeah. It's been good to me this lane over the last 2 years, certainly the Webber Cup as well, so just hope to go on better again, like you say.
Now, you're in really good form and you seem to have locked right into this lane at the moment.
First match, it was just a bit of getting used to the lane, a bit of nerves as well. Then settled into it, and second 2 matches, I mean, I bowled really well. I mean, I've surprised myself with the scores I've had, so yeah, it's going well at the moment.
Now, I know you enjoyed beating Jens Nicol, the guy you lost to in the final last year, but this next match is the match that you wanted, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, thinking about it before, you know, just to play someone like Chris in the final, it's a great honour. He's a great player, one of the best players on the planet. He's proved it year in, year out. So, but just another player like anyone else. I'm sure I can do my best and see if I can beat him.
We wish you the very best of luck. Ladies and gentlemen, from England, Paul Moor. Now, Paul's opponent in this final was expected to make it to this stage, but he's had to play really well to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome, from the USA, Chris Barnes! Chris, welcome to the stage, Masters debut, and you're in the final.
Well, I guess, you know, every dog has their day. So, you know, I've been pretty fortunate. Alex had been bowling great, and I caught him probably at the right time, but it's not going to get any easier.
Just looking at your reactions in that semi-final match, you really seem pleased with the way that you played and constructed your game.
I did play well that game, or that particular match, and I was probably a little more intense because I knew I had very little mistake room. If I made any mistakes at all, Alex was going to take it to me.
Now you're bowling against the guy who's practically in his hometown, so what are you going to do today?
Gosh, I don't know. I'm going to try and be the first person to get his heartbeat over 60 beats a minute. He's been cruising through this field like he owns it, and so you know, I'm going to take my Columbia 300 balls and try and keep up.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck in doing just that. Ladies and gentlemen, from the USA, Chris Barnes. Time then to hand you over to your referee for this final, Bernie White, and your commentators for the match, Cass Edwards and Nick Halling.
Just like to shake hands, gentlemen. Wish you good luck, good bowling. Paul to start the first game.
So now it's official. We can have the final of the PartyPoker.com World 10-Pin Masters. Paul Moor will be the lead-off man. The format, the same as with all the other matches. It's very simple. You have 2 games to amass the highest aggregate score you can muster. Top score this time wins the check for $30,000 US and that trophy you can see gleaming in the background there. Good start. Now Paul Moor's definitely got this crowd behind him. They are locals, and there's his parents, Pat and John, looking on, hoping that their son's going to go one better this time. But no question that Paul Moor has got the house on his side.
Yes, the very smooth, distinctive style of Paul Moor. Lays that ball nicely on the lane and leans all 10 pins. Frame number 1.
Barnes, the right-hander, starts off in the worst possible way, and as we've seen so often in this tournament, and I don't know how it keeps happening, we've got the possibility, in fact the probability, of an open frame to start off with for one of these players.
Yeah, I'm not sure. From where I am, I can't see if that is the 7-9 or the 6-7, but it's a big split. It's the 6-7. It's makeable. He has to hit this 6-pin on the right-hand side with a feather duster and chip it across. He's going to give it a go, but it's gone. And that's a big open frame to start with.
And I don't know how many times we've said this in this competition. If you're going to have the open frame, get it out of the way in frame 1, just like Chris Barnes has had to do here. He went for that narrow little chip, just didn't have the radar tuned in properly. Open frame to start off with for Barnes.
Welcome back to the final of the World 10-Pin Masters. England's Paul Moor against PBA pro Chris Barnes. Barnes has taken an early lead as we join the action at the start of frame 4. Commentary from Cass Edwards and Nick Halling.
Yeah, Paul was looking down at his feet there. I'm not quite sure whether he had a problem there, but the ball sort of overreacted, and well, he's not very happy, is he? I don't know if he didn't quite slide as smoothly as he wanted to. No, I just turned away there. He seemed okay at the line. It was a reaction of the ball, and it's the 247 he's got standing.
He just looks a little tight. In those earlier matches, he was so loose and relaxed, the strikes were coming effortlessly. Now he's digging out spares.
Well, he'd be happy with a spare. He certainly wasn't happy with the first ball of the frame. But he stayed clean, and that's what he's got to do.
If you remember, in Chris Barnes's semi-final, it was really close, and then Chris's opponent, Alex Liu, went on 5 spare frames in succession, and Barnes's response was 5 strikes in a row. So far here, Moor's had 3 spares, and up to now, Barnes has hit 2 of them with a strike, with an opportunity for a third right here.
Well, this is it, Nick. It is the opportunity to make the turkey and amass more pins. Unfortunately, he's got a 10-pin hanging in the corner.
And probably wonders how on earth it is still standing, because that was textbook.
It certainly was a great shot, wasn't it? Laid it out nicely on the lane. Nice straight shot. Just rides up at the end there in the back end. And the 10-pin stand there sort of almost laughing at him.
Well, you just have to take it on the chin once in a while, and that was one of those moments. Just out of luck. And safely spared, so he's not able to build on that lead. That's the good news for Paul Moor. The bad news is Barnes looks pretty dialed in early here.
It's the situation, just holding a 2-pin lead after 4 frames. It's going to be the strikes that wins this match, and they're both going to have to go out looking for them, and I don't mean 1 or 2. It's the 4 and 5 baggers that are going to do the damage.
And that's what this fella's been finding consistently throughout this tournament. Right now, he's had 1 strike, then 3 spares. Boy, does he need a strike in the worst possible way. And he can't find it. This time it's the 7 again. And again, a bit like the Chris Barnes shot, not a lot you'd want to change, but not getting the run of the ball.
Yeah, didn't quite get the carry. It was a pretty good shot. Right up to the left-hander's pocket, and the 4-pin's just bounced straight around that 7-pin. Supposed to take it out on the way, give it a little tap and knock it over, but so much power in those pins generated by that ball. Looking to make yet another spare. This will be his 4th one in a row. Takes it away nicely, but it's not what he's looking for.
Some anxious parental glances up at the scoreboard. They'll be hoping that they are not seeing history repeat itself. But Paul looks a little bit tense, and every time you spare, that just gets the anxiety gnawing away at the back of your mind. And if Chris Barnes gets back on strike, his confidence will start to flow, or continue to flow, should I say. And he's dead on the money again, and Chris Barnes may have saved his best game to last, because he's looking very good here after that early aberration.
Well, the thing is, you see, every time he gets a strike, it gives him the opportunity to make the double, and we've talked about making doubles and triples and 4s, and this is the man to do that sort of thing. As good as Paul Moor is, this man is sheer class.
There is no crisis or problem here for Paul Moor, as you can see from that scoreboard. Psychologically, Paul's just got to try and settle his nerves. It's almost as if he's told himself, it's the final, I need something extra special. He just needs to relax and let that ball fall off his fingers and do its job like that. And listen to that crowd response.
Oh yeah, up goes the strike. What a great shot that was as well. Great response from Paul Moor. Really gave that some welly, as we say in the game. Great reaction in the back end. Even gets the messenger flying across the lane. Not that it was needed. Paul just checking the score himself. But it's the man from Texas that's up looking for the double.
He has 1 double. Here he is looking for another one. Ooh, that messenger slid around the back side of that pin. Thought it was going to take it, but fortune didn't smile on him there.
Yeah, to all intents and purposes it looked like another strike, didn't it? But it's just a fraction high. Just a tad overreaction in the back end. Straightforward spare, as we say. Shouldn't see any problem making this one. Just far to extend his lead though.
Yes, he'll be a little bit disappointed with himself. Wife Linda Barnes looking on and chewing her nails, anxiously fretting away, as you can see from that big smile. It was seeded that the two Barneses could have met in the final, but Linda fell at the first hurdle, which is probably just as well. We might have had to have, forget Bernie White, we might have needed a divorce lawyer in here.
Opportunity presents itself to Paul Moor. It's his time to go looking for the double. It's real sort of cat and mouse, isn't it? One frame after the other. Who's going to double, who's not?
Well, if it is a double, I think it's even Stevens, this match, pretty much neck and neck. So can Paul find his first double of this final? Yes, he can. And it looks like he's settling down, which is good news for these fans.
Yes, looks as though he might have just opened his shoulders a bit on this one, giving himself a little bit more area on the lane. Slight adjustment in the setup, and he's absolutely ripped the rack and made the double. Really was a great shot.
So the double from Moore, the early double from Barnes. It's the American now who needs to follow that, as it were. A strike is what he's after, and he doesn't get it. And that hard nine said, "Not today, Chris."
Yes, the ball, the angle of the ball going into the pocket is the reason that 9-pin's standing up. It's just cut straight through the 1 and a 5. So much power on it, it didn't deflect and take that 9-pin away. That's too much ball. Going another single pin spare for Barnes. Takes it away nicely. Not what he needed. He'll have to settle for it though.
Well, staying clean is one thing, but the big scores come, as we've said already, Cass, when those X's go together, and that's the problem that Chris has got, because if Paul does catch fire here, Chris is going to find himself just slipping behind a little bit. Now, that's the question that we haven't got the answer to yet. Paul has come back with a double, but has he finally gone through the gears and got himself going here more? We'll find out with the next couple of frames. Here he is with an opportunity for the first turkey of the 2006 final. And it was all over the shop, and he's lucky to get away with that and knows it.
And that certainly wasn't the best shot in the world. That sort of twisted off his hand a bit. As soon as the ball hit the lane, it was travelling right inside his mark, and it's broken the pins up, fortunately. It's the 6 and the 10 in the corner. Should be pretty reasonable, easy making spare for him. Failed to take advantage of the 2 strikes that he's got in the bank. No room for error on this spare. Can't afford to go picking one off the other.
Yeah, well played. But neither man is able to grab hold of the initiative in this final. It is still way too close to call. So far, apart from that early split from Barnes, which hasn't really hurt him, they've both avoided the big mistake, but neither of them have really caught fire yet.
Now it's down to single digits. Moore just with his nose in front. Barnes taking a re-rack, second one of the game.
The interesting thing for me though, Cass, here's a guy, Paul Moore I'm talking about, whose average is very impressive indeed. He's been over 500 for his last 2 matches, and he's bowling below his best. And whether he's tightened up because he knows it's the big stage, or whether the lane has changed on him, I don't know. But we're not seeing the Paul Moore that we saw in earlier rounds. And can Barnes find a strike? Yes. It's a real close match, this final.
Absolutely right in there. Those 10 pins stood no chance. He looks pretty proud of that one. It really was a great shot. I'm not over sure he was happy with the pin rack, but he took it.
So Barnes with his nose in front but only just. But this, as far as the first match is concerned, this is where some damage can get done. You finish strongly. If Paul Moor can get a strike and then add a couple more in the 10th, then you build a big score and you build some momentum to take into the sprint for home. If you don't finish strongly, it tends to just play on your mind as you go into that second game. So a strike here, vital for Paul. He's just about dug it out.
Well, that was pretty close actually. It's pretty very high on the head pin.
It was.
As it cut inside, it's managed to trip the 4-pin out as well. He's just trying to open that area up on that left-hand side of the lane for him. Oh, it was the 8-pin that went.
I thought he'd overcooked it, Cass. I really did.
Yeah, a lot of rotation on that ball. Still, it counts. It's a great strike. And it was the foundation frame, frame 9. So he's pacing through the 200 barrier.
So, to keep his 4-pin advantage, Chris Barnes has got to match that. He has one double. If he strikes here, it'll be another one for him.
Yeah, this is a very big ball. One of his last opportunities to make a strike before frame 10.
And there was no doubt about it.
Well, the man that's got 7 PBA titles to his credit in his professional career is looking really hot. He's set up the advantage. Chance to take this first leg.
You can separate them by the width of a piece of paper after 9 frames. Somebody is going to have to make a dash for the line here at some point. Paul with a chance for a second double here in frame 10. Much better shot.
Well, even mum and dad know that. It was hit and thin, make them spin. That could have been 6 or 7. It turns out to be 10, and it is the double. Frames 9 and 10, earns himself 2 bonus balls. And if this is Oh Lucky Man, this is the shot. Light in the pocket, spins them all round, sets up a chain reaction, and takes all 10.
Now, can he tack on another one here? Every pin, it seems, is going to count in this final. Oh, only 9. That could be a costly single pin that's left standing there for Paul Moor. It gives Barnes a chance to pad his lead.
Yeah, again, slightly different from the last strike. That one was high through the head pin, the previous one was light. And it's only taken 9. So a spare for 211. Slightly under par of what Paul has been shooting so far in the tournament.
Just about tapped that one out of there. 211. As you say, Cass, not the kind of numbers we're used to seeing from Paul Moor, who was bowling 260s against Jens Nickel, 250s and 260s against Wim van der Veen. But here in the final, well below that, 211. Probably not enough to have a lead at the turn, and definitely not if Chris Barnes opens up with a strike here in frame 10.
Yes, he needs to make this turkey first ball in frame 10 to secure a lead in game number 1.
Barnes has had a re-rack, that's the reason for the delay, and those pins haven't reappeared. Now they're coming down. Barnes doesn't seem to be bothered at all by these changes of pace. We talked before about the need for bowlers to establish a rhythm, and Chris re-racks, it seems, every other rack, so, and then he just refocuses. He literally is just taking it 1 frame at a time.
Yeah, the look on his face tells us he's not over happy with a re-rack on certain occasions, but he's got to get on with it. And this is a mighty big ball. First ball in the 10th, needs 10.
No doubt about it.
Well, clenched fists and great body language there. That really was an important ball. Sets himself up for 2 bonus balls in the 10th frame, and he'll be looking for 220.
And that was one of those strikes, wasn't it? You don't need to see them sometimes. You can hear what's happened to the pins to know they've all gone.
Yeah, Chris, interestingly, is playing a pretty much straight down the line shot. Just a reasonable amount of rotation on the ball at the end of the lane. where all the high scores are made. Just turns up nicely into the pocket, but hits with such power. Tells us he rolls with a mixture of 16 and 15 pound balls.
Well, Paul had a 9 hit at this stage. Chris has gone one better, which means instead of a single pin to bowl at like Paul had, Barnes has indeed given himself an opportunity to pad his lead. He has another 10 to aim at.
Yeah, chance for another 10 pins. Could be 226. And the lead could be in double digits, and wife Linda liked that one. She realised the importance of it.
The lead will be in double digits if he takes all 10, and the lead will be 15. And he has bludgeoned them into submission with a 5-bagger to finish. That was a bold statement of intent for the professional from Dallas, Texas. A very strong finish to this first leg in this year's final. 226. He hasn't shaken off Paul Moor, but he's opened up a little bit of daylight at the halfway stage. It's 226 plays 211, a lead for Chris Barnes of 15 pins, but it's all to play for.
Before we continue with Game 2, here's a reminder of how the scoring works in 10-pin. If you're going to keep tabs on the players, then you need to come to terms with the scoring system. There are 10 frames in a match. There's a maximum of 2 balls in each frame. When a player knocks all 10 pins down, the first ball is called a strike. When a player knocks all 10 pins down with 2 balls, then this is a spare. A strike and a spare are worth bonus points. When you make a strike, you earn 10 points, and the score of your next 2 balls is added twice. When you make a spare, you earn 10 points, and the score of your next 1 ball is added twice. If you score consecutive strikes or spares, the bonus points continue to mount up. If you score a strike in frame 10, you'll get 2 bonus balls. And if you score a spare in frame 10, you get 1 bonus ball. The maximum score for a match is 300 points, 12 strikes in a row.
Well, 2 men, 1 goal, 1 game left to fulfill their ambitions. One of these 2 will be $30,000 richer and the owner of that magnificent trophy. Right now, this is the man in the driving seat. His lead, 15 pins. Chris Barnes from the United States. Doesn't like that one, but it's still taken them all down. You heard his reaction as it left the hand, but he got away with it.
Yeah, so disgusted with that shot that he actually walked off the lane. And, well, oh lucky man, I'm going to accept it. Don't plan it too much, Chris. It counts as 10, and you want it.
Oh yeah, disgusted. And then they all went.
The ever showman playing the crowd, and they're loving it.
It goes the other way as well. You'll see perfect pocket hits leaving 7s and 10s tucked away in the corner. But it's a strike for Barnes, and when you've got that lead and you're the lead-off guy, every time you strike, you're throwing some pressure on the other guy. And that's a dodgy-looking shot from Paul Moor. He's lucky to get away with 9, and Paul's not on his A game here.
Well, it certainly wasn't near the pocket, was it? And he was fortunate to break these up just to leave the single pin. Yeah, very high through the headpin. The messenger of work coming across the lane there. He's going to take his spare ball out and slide this one away. Single 4-pin.
We haven't seen this in previous matches from Paul Moor. He's fighting the lane. These left-handers have looked so comfortable bowling on that left side. Paul especially. But every time he steps up, it looks like it's bothering him. Something's worrying Paul Moor about this lane at the moment, and I don't think he can quite work it out.
Well, I would hazard to say it might be Chris Barnes on the right-hand side that's worrying him. It would worry me, I must admit.
No, he's out of the pocket, Cass. He's drifting around. He's such a machine, Paul Moor, but he is not consistently hitting the pocket.
No, that's very true what you say, and Chris with the dodgy one to start with. You can bet your life this one's going to go right in the 1-3 pocket for the double. Take advantage of a bad strike by burying one right in there.
Done just that.
Need I say more? Fantastic shot.
the lead has gone up to 25, and with a strike it forces Paul to match strike with strike to keep it at 25. This guy is starting to pull away, and you get the sense that he knows it.
Nick, you haven't mentioned the trophy and how heavy that is. Now, if Chris Barnes wins this, that's going to be excess baggage on the way home, isn't it?
It certainly is. Paul Moor will be hoping to keep it in Yorkshire. And he's found the pocket, and he's found a timely strike as well. So he stays within 25, so there's no crisis yet. Paul's got enough time to sort this thing out.
Yeah, this shot's gone a little bit wider, giving himself a bit more room on the outside of the lane. And it's held in the oil, and here comes the rip in the rack, and there goes 10 pins. Much better shot, greater reaction. Let's see if he can stay there. Barnes, another re-rack. This is almost every other frame, isn't it? Again, he looks at those pins. Not sure whether he's happy or not.
Well, one of those pins is just sort of wobbling slightly now. It's settled down. So I think he'll take it, let's put it that way. Just like in his semi-final, he's slowed his game right down. Well, it worked for him in the semi. He won pulling away. What's he going to do here in the final? Well, it looks like he's got it all dialed in at the moment. 3 in a row to open up game 2.
Well, if he's slowing his game down, could be a bit of gamesmanship. The longer he keeps Paul Moore sitting back in his chair, the longer it's going to be before Paul can get up and get back online again. Looking really cool.
He is. He remains 25 pins to the good, and he continues to keep the pressure on his opponent. To keep it at 25, Moore needs all 10 pins. I don't know in what situation you'd rather be, whether you'd like to know what you've got to do, or whether you'd sooner be the lead-off man. Well, Paul doesn't get the choice. He follows in game 2. And at least he's followed with a double. He's keeping in touch here.
Yes, another great shot from the Yorkshireman. Left-hand side of the lane, gets a great reaction. And rips all 10 away for the double. Great shot from the man known to his close friends as Roger. It's Paul Moore, the man from Yorkshire.
An unlikely James Bond, if ever you saw one. But he might need something from Bond's magic box if he's going to turn this one around. Chris Barnes, at the moment, 25 pins to the good.
Opportunity for 4 strikes in a row.
Not going to get it with that.
Oh no.
Out of the pocket and left himself a bit of a mess.
Yeah, it's a 3-6-10 high ball through the pocket, through the head pin. Just lost this one totally. Well, that's a makeable spare, but it's not the strike that he was looking for, and out comes that spare ball. He doesn't want to go picking odd single pins off this 3.
We've seen this missed more than once in this competition. But this is too big a stage to go missing a spare like that. But the strike streak is over, and it means that if Paul can get a strike here, he gets right back to within touching distance. He'll be a couple of pins adrift. So we keep talking about this. Opportunities that come along to help you win a title don't come along very often. When they're there, you better reach out and grab them. And there is a chance here for Paul Moore to all but erase that deficit. A really big ball coming up in this final now, and Paul Moore is the man who has to bowl it. If he gets a strike, he pulls to within 2. Oh, and the 7 has let him down.
Well, it wobbled, didn't it? Something hit it. Bit of frustration on his face there. It was a great shot, and it would have been the 3 in a row that he was looking for. Would have got him right back in the match. Oh, that 4 pin just bounces around and drops in the flat gutter. Unbelievable.
So instead of being 2 adrift, he's 23 adrift, assuming he knocks this single pin over.
Oops.
And he's not going to. Oh, that's a disaster for Paul Moore.
That is a major error in a championship final. A straightforward single pin, out comes the spare ball, and it's right in the gutter, and that is absolutely devastating. That is going to cost him so many pins.
35 in arrears now. He had the chance to pull within 2. Now he's 35 adrift.
Back to the Masters. Moor against Barnes for the Masters title. It's the Englishman in trouble. This is the 7th frame, and we join the action with commentary from Cass Edwards and Nick Hawley.
That is a very lucky strike, and doesn't he know it? Yes. An apology to the 10-pin gods, because he didn't deserve that one, but he's got away with it.
We may look back at that and say that that ball could have been, or that strike could have been worth $30,000 at the end of the day. He knows how important that was. It's given him 3 strikes in a row, and the 10-pin gods have smiled on him.
Well, he's closing in, but Chris Barnes has been around long enough to know that weird things happen in this game. Look at what happened in his semi-final. He was out of it against Mike Schmidt. Schmidt popped up with a split in frame 9, turned it all around, and that's all it's going to take here. 35 pins is a 1-frame spin around. If Barnes does leave an open frame and Moore comes back with a strike, it'll be too close to call again. But Moore has got to do his part of the bargain and keep striking. And he does. There was a split second there where you were looking at the 7-10, and then they both went in the blink of an eye.
Well, what an outrageous strike this is. 3 strikes in a row for Paul Moore, and you're right, Nick, yes, the 7-10 was standing. A light hit, but a pair of messengers, and they're both gone. What a great shot. Still 35 pins adrift, and we're down to 3 frames.
He needs Chris Barnes to make an error or get a bad break to let him back in, and he knows it. It's out of his control. If Barnes keeps striking, even if Barnes keeps sparing at this point of the match, he's going to be okay. Frame 8. Hello, hello. He's left 4 of the bucket, and we haven't seen that in quite a while, and it's not an easy spare.
I tell you, Nick, not only that, it's a 6 count after a double, so that's a low count. He's lost pins there. That just has not got up to the pocket at all, and how disgusted he looks with that.
And if he doesn't knock them all over, this is going to get really close. Another big ball. Possibly, well, not possibly, this is the biggest ball in the match. The spare ball to stay clean. He made that look easy.
One valuable spare, and doesn't he know it?
If Moore strikes here, as a result of that, he pulls to within 11. If Moore strikes, Chris Barnes is not over the finish line.
It was a great pressure spare there, and well, he made it look easy, didn't he? As I say, he's lost some pins on that 6 count, and now it's up to Paul Moore, working 3 strikes in a row, and 1 more will be so important.
And he's not going to care how he gets them. Must be a strike to keep his campaign alive. He's got him! He's got him! And he's pulled to within 11.
Well, the roof comes off, and Mum and Dad look really happy indeed, don't they? Well, sort of nervously anyway.
They are way too nervous and anxious to be happy, but Paul Moore will be delighted with this. A 4-bagger at a crucial stage in the match. He's close now.
And some emotion from Paul as well there. What body language that was.
And do you think Chris Barnes is going to slow this down? It doesn't look like it. If anything, he's picked up the pace. Now Barnes knows that Moore's just made a move, and he knows here in frame 9 this better be a strike or it could turn around. Big ball. Big response.
Oh, what a big shot that was, wasn't it? Foundation frame, as you said, Nick, frame number 9, and he can do no more than that. He's through the 200 barrier at least. Absolutely fantastic shot. Pressure time as well.
It was an effortless strike, just when he needed it. And it puts Paul Moore in must-strike territory once again. He's working a 4-bagger. That will count for nothing if he fails here. Paul Moore has got to strike. And then hope that he's got something to aim at in frame 10. And now with the stakes high, Paul Moor has just decided, I'm not happy, I'm going to take my time, and who can blame him? His hopes hanging by a thread. That thread will break if he fails to strike. And what a shame, because there wasn't a lot wrong with that, but the 7, I think, has doomed Paul Moor to being a runner-up for the 2nd year running.
Well, 7-pin's solid. He's looking for the messenger as well, but it's not there. Solid as a rock, that 7-pin, and, well, the heart could have gone out of Paul Moor. He knows how expensive that was. And it could be the... oh, yeah, he's just checking himself as well. It could have been the ball that loses him the final.
I think he's really trying to keep a lid on his disappointment here, Paul, because he wanted this title in front of these fans. He really wanted this after coming so close last year. Jens Nickel blew him away last year. His parents were there to see that. They were hoping for a happy ending this year, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen for Europe's #1.
It's quite simple for Chris Barnes. One strike and the title is his.
Hello. Ooh. Hello.
Yeah, it's a little 310, high through the head pin. Yeah, everybody's checking their scores. Calculators are overheating. It's high through the head pin.
Well, if my calculator is still working, I think if he nails this, all he's got to do is have a reasonable pin count with his extra ball, and he can't be caught. But I think he needs this. If this stays open, I think Moore could steal it.
Could steal it with a double if he opens, and Linda's not looking very happy. Very serious look on her face. Must be a spare.
That is, what a pressure ball.
Yeah, raises his fist, I think, in victory, and I think Linda's realised as well. Ooh, thank you.
Yeah, Paul Moore can't catch him now. Even if he rolls this one down the gutter, Chris Barnes will be the 2006 PartyPoker.com World 10-Pin Masters champion.
Changes line, changes ball, hits 9 and hits 232.
A championship score of 458. Paul Moore is the first to congratulate him. And nobody wished any ill on Chris Barnes, but you can see the disappointment in the faces of these fans. It is heartache for Paul Moore, joy for this man. But for Paul Moore, how tough is this? To come to the final twice and to be on the wrong end of the scoreline 2 years running. It must be sickening for this young man, and so frustrating that he's got so close once again. If he strikes out here, he'll have pulled it to within 11, but he never got close, and you have to look at that miss on the single 7-pin in frame 4 of this second game as the decisive turning point of the contest.
Yes, indeed, Nick, you're quite right. He dropped that ball in the gutter, missed the 7-pin, and it has cost him the title. Another win from the man from the Professional Bowlers Association Tour in the United States.
Now we have just one more ball left in this year's competition. We've had some ups and downs and some dramas in this one, but we're going to have another debutant champion. Last year it was Jens Nickel. This year, Chris Barnes. Paul Moore, the beaten man on both occasions. He signs off with a 226 for an aggregate of 437. And a capacity crowd on their feet to salute two excellent bowlers. Paul Moore gave it all he had, but he's fallen 21 pins adrift of what he wanted. Chris Barnes, on the right from the United States, has won the PartyPoker.com World 10-Pin Masters Trophy by a score of 458 to 437. You are looking at the champion of 2006.
So Paul Moor failed to pull back the very impressive Chris Barnes. The title, the cheque for $30,000 and the trophy for the 10-pin Masters all now head across the Atlantic as the PBA Pros celebrates another victory.